good culture, it's a culture where, first of all, employees are not afraid to talk, where the manager knows how to adapt its leadership style to different personalities. A good culture is where, if your industry is permitting it, you don't really care where your people are working from as long as they produce.
This podcast is powered by imops.io. Optimize your cloud infrastructure and CI/CD process with imops.io dedicated DevOps team. Check out www.imops.io and get a DevOps team now. Welcome to our series entitled The IM Podcast, a podcast about innovation, business, and most importantly, people. In this series, we'll be talking to founders, executives, and various experts about their vision, challenges, best practices, and lessons learned throughout their journey. Let's get started.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the I Am Podcast. I am Araya, your host, and today with me is an executive coach. He's been recognized as a top executive career coach by Coach Foundation. How is he related to startups? We will find out. Please welcome on the show, Ivan Tzivanakis. Hey, Ivan.
Hey, mate. Wow, you pronounced my surname very good. Nice to see you, and a pleasure to be on the show with you today.
It's our pleasure. We're very excited. It's our first time. It's my first time to host on the show, so we're very excited to learn from you. How are you?
Very good. Actually, not too bad. We've been communicating for a couple of weeks now. Today is Monday. I am in Greece. It's a summer holiday, but I work from home, and I have the opportunity to meet some of my European clients. So, I could say, the answer to the question is I'm not too bad. If I could show you a video of my window right now, I'm like 10 meters away from the beach. So can't really complain. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're just over with a typhoon, but we're good. We're safe, and I'm excited to speak with you. And I'm sure our dear listeners would love to know a bit more. Like, you're in Greece, you're a coach. How are you related to startups? So come on, please share with us.
Well, I spend half of my time in Europe and half of my time in Asia, and I work with successful leaders, CEOs, business owners, and managers who are facing a setback. A setback could mean personal, professional setback. Let's say, for example, they are stuck in their career and they want clarity or they want to move ahead. Or it can be pure a professional setback. For example, they want to improve their communication skills with their team. They want to engage the team members better. They want to increase sales. Or maybe they want to know how to manage their hybrid workforce in a more productive way doing all that by avoiding micromanaging. So this is what I mean by setback. And then I help those leaders get over that setback by getting clarity on their goals and then exploring ways to reach them so they can lead with a little more ease.
You mentioned about communication. When there's culture, there's communication, there's miscommunication. So how important is proper communication, or how do you properly communicate in a multicultural environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if I could share my experience, when I was a manager in the UK, I was actually, lucky and blessed enough to run my own business at the age of 25. So at that time, 10 years ago, the way I communicated and, the approach I had and the way I managed teams, it was very different the way I communicate today. Back in the days, it was like one way. I did the talking, my employees did the listening and the execution. There is no argument, there is no debate, they just follow. But nowadays, is different. And back in the days, managers used to believe that we need power and control. But we were wrong. Power really comes from understanding relationships. I think it's absolutely true that all top leaders can make their message simple enough for everyone to grasp and complex enough to make it attractive. And leadership really is about communicating effectively and connecting with others. Therefore, I would say, with my experience, I was a subordinate, I became a manager, I became a director, I became a business owner, and I am an executive coach. I would say that effective communication is a hallmark of a great leader. When it comes to different cultures, it really comes, to be honest with you, with experience. Like, I lived in Asia, I lived in Australia, I lived in Europe. It comes with experience, and you can read as many books as you want on how to communicate with people from different cultures, but unless you live in the culture, you live in the country, you mingle with your employees, you understand the culture, you can understand how to communicate. So it's one of those things, like you can, what's the best way to learn how to ride a bicycle? It's to get on the bike and then you're gonna fall down and go back again. You can read as many books as you want, but you're not gonna learn the bicycle, how to learn a bicycle unless you get on that bike. So the best way to be able to communicate across different cultures is to have the experience to have lived or to have spent time in that culture. Like, when I come in the Philippines, obviously for compliance and non-disclosure agreement reasons, I cannot tell you them. I have companies and clients that I coach and train in the Philippines. So my approach, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit, maybe the discussions we have is a bit more personal sometimes. We talk about other things, not just work. We talk about their family, my family, what they do in their free time, and so on. And some of those clients sometimes they even invite me. When they get to know me better, they even invite me at their house. Well, in some other countries, this is not possible.
So differences between culture. Okay, so when we relate to startups, like I always hear this from startup founders, like culture eats strategy for breakfast. Like no matter how well designed your strategy is and no matter how brilliant your idea or your product is, it will like fall flat unless you have a team with a good culture. So my question is there a bad culture? Is there a good culture? Like how to know?
It's strategy for breakfast. I would say lunch and dinner. So, a good culture, it's a little bit like leadership. These are fuzzy words, and, if you talk about culture or leadership, there are thousands of books that they were written on the topic over the years. For example, if we look at leadership, leadership has so many meanings and there is no right or wrong answer to the question of what leadership is, right? So same with the culture. So for me though, leadership and culture start from the top. And I'll give you an example. When you go to weddings, you have that after the wedding, when you go for your when you go to dinner, to the party, in the middle, you have that chocolate fountain, right? And the chocolate flows from the top. It is a chocolate fondue. If the top part is right and how the chocolate flows, that's exactly how culture is. So culture starts from the top. The one who is responsible to set the culture, to set the work ethic, to set the communication level is the top leader, whoever that top leader is. If you are a business owner, you are running a small company, 5 people, 3 employees, 5 employees, 10 employees, you are the one who is going to set the standard. If you are running a big business or a big department, the same chocolate fountain example applies. You are the one that is going to set the standard. So good culture, it's a culture where first of all, employees are not afraid to talk, where the manager knows how to adapt its leadership style to different personalities. A good culture is where, if your industry is permitting it, you don't really care where your people are working from as long as they produce. And if you are managing a sales team, I don't really care where my sales people are working from. What I do as a manager, hire the right people, support them, train them, give them all the necessary tools, technical tools, laptops, training, coaching, development, give them what they want, give them the right tools, the right arsenal, and then I let them do what they have to do. So and a little bit about micromanagement, because a lot of people say, micromanagement is bad, but in my experience, both as a manager and a subordinate, micromanagement is not the problem. Problem is the mismatching style. Micromanaging is only one type of management. So it is best suited to people who are maybe, starting a new role, or a graduate, or is the first job ever, and they need to be guided and trained closely. So there are other management styles like coaching, supporting, delegating, which are appropriate if subordinates are more experienced, therefore need minimal supervision. So the bottom line is situational leadership is a good concept to apply. So look at your employees, examine what do they want, what support do they need. Do they have the experience that they can run by themselves, or do you need to guide them, maybe coach them a little bit more closer than others? So as a leader, as a manager, as a business owner, there is no one solution that fits all. I think you should really be able to wear different hats.
I like that you said about the chocolate fountain, like it really flows from the top to bottom. Leaders set the culture, the DNA of the company, right? So, how? I mean, maybe you can give us some tips like how to set the culture. Is it the way you speak or the way you like assign tasks or nonverbal? Can you give us some parameters?
That's an interesting question. Well, it's the whole style of the leader. It's not just communication. It's not only the way you speak. It's not just the way you talk. It's not the tone of voice in your emails. I think it's the whole package. So I think nowadays with, remote work, hybrid work, and managing different people with different needs, nowadays people, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago, money and financial incentives, it was the only thing that people care, but it looks like it's not anymore. People want different things nowadays.
Yeah.
Of course, money is important. We all have bills to pay, but it looks like that employees is not the only thing they're looking for. So I would argue and say that there are 3, I suppose, essential roles of a leader in today's organizational environment. The first role is for the leader to define the task. The second role is to achieve the task, and the third role, essential role, is to maintain effective relationships. So look, define the task. You as a leader, you should make it clear what the group or the individual is expected to do. Number 2 is to achieve the task. This is why your group exists, So as leaders, we need to make sure that the group's purpose is fulfilled. And if we don't achieve the task, if we don't fulfill the task, what happens to the team? Frustrations, disharmony, criticism, and perhaps, even disintegration of the group. And I will give you an example. Look at sports teams. What happens if they continue to lose? And the third role is to maintain effective relationship between themselves and the members of the group and between the people within the group. So for me, an effective leader knows how to balance 3 things: results, relationships, ego.
Wow. Results, relationships, and ego.
Their own ego.
The thing that you said about nowadays, it's not just about the money, right? It's about the purpose. Like if you find your purpose, the vision of the company, and the roles of a leader, right? Like define the task, achieve, and maintain. How do you, speaking of like remote work, right? People are sometimes in the office, at home. How do you make sure everything is clear, make sure everyone is productive?
Well, you start from hiring. First of all, you need to make sure that you hire the people that fit your culture. And then once your people are starting, you need to have a good onboarding process. I think for an employee that starts today, the first 30 days and then the first 90 days are really important. So you need to have a good onboarding process, because, treat your employees like your customers. So I always say, one of the things that we go through with my clients is like the manager's customer is not the customer. Yeah, you may have a business and you might be involved into day to day, and maybe sometimes you're serving customers and you're communicating with customers, but your customer is not the customer. Your customer as a manager, as a business owner, is the employee. So please have that mentality. And then once you have an employee starting in your big business or small business, you need to have good onboarding. In the first day, first week, first month, the same way you evaluate them, they evaluate you as well. Okay. And when I say results, relationship, ego, please try to balance. Like if you are too results driven, if you are all about sales, you will have a lot of sales, but people won't stick with you around because you're going to be too harsh on them. So you only be able to attract a certain type of people, they won't stick around because you're too hardcore. On the opposite side, if you focus too much on relationships, you're gonna end up having a lot of friends, but your results will not be there. And the last thing is ego. You need to balance your ego. We all have egos, but if I'm running a business or a department and I come across like it's all about me, my employees will think, well, what is in it for me? What is it in for me? So please, try to balance, know when to push, know when to pull, know when to challenge people, know when to pamper people, and try to control. So, all successful leaders I've worked with and I coach, I can tell you they know how to balance results, ego, and relationships. And as leaders, we have tremendous influence over the performance of our teams. Probably a lot more influence than we actually realize. And how we do things and the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we talk, our tone of voice with our employees plays a huge role in the success of our teams. One of the key duties and responsibilities of the role of a successful leader is what? Is to always improve, empower, and nurture your employees to help them become better in doing their job. And I don't mean babysitting. I mean give them the support, give them the vision, give them the tools they need to do their job. And they will do it, they will do it.
Wow, we are really learning a lot. Oh, we'd love to learn more about how to engage. Yeah, I saw in your post, the manager's customer is not the customer. The manager's customer is the employee. So it's all about the people. How do you boost employee engagement? Because it drives performance.
Well, look, you need to know, if you look at business and corporates, you need to know where, they have their cycle, right? Is it a startup? Is it an expanding style? In what phase is the startup? But, it depends really. So, but a major part of leadership is about motivating and mobilizing people, So how to do it, I actually have developed over the years, and I will share a bit with you, my own motivational model, which means in order for people to perform, I realize, and in order for sales to go up, and in order to productivity to be there, people need to be connected, number one. Number two, need to be challenged. Number three, need to feel secure. And number four, they need to feel stimulated. And I will quickly elaborate on this in the minutes that we have remaining. Number one, security, a feeling of well-being. For example, am I safe? Do I have the means to provide for myself and my family? And this is one of our most basic needs, right? We need to feel secure, both personal safety, but also have a roof over our head. So are your people feeling secure? And again, I'm not talking about babysitting. Yes, if somebody is not performing, you need to sit down and have a conversation. If they're not performing again, you need to sit down and have another conversation. Are your people feeling secure? That's number one. Look around your people. How are they feeling? If you walk into the room, if you walk into the business, do they kind of change their style and pretend they are working? So are your people feeling secure? Number two, are your people feeling connected? What do I mean connected? We are humans, and we like being involved in a team or a social network. And I don't mean just a online social network. I don't mean like Facebook or Instagram. I mean social network. And few of us like to work completely alone. There are people out there that like to work completely alone. But even those who do, they like to have a feeling of worth within their work or within their social community. We are humans. We are social species. We need to feel connected to other people, friends, family, and so on and so forth. So are your people connected? Are they feeling connected? Are you running Zoom meetings once per week, once per day, once every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, once per month, and all you do is talk about work? But I suggest, it's something I do once per month, to have a team together, Zoom meeting if you're not all in the same location, or you have hybrid or remote work, and I call it water cooler conversation. Just talk non-work related things. Maybe you can have a virtual team lunch together, to give the sense of connection among your team. The third thing is stimulation. And of course, in this instance, I talk about sensory stimulation at work. Let me ask you a question, mate. If you sit on a train to go from Manila to, I don't know, beautiful Philly, to go to Baguio, right? And I often is there a train, by the way, from Manila to Baguio? I don't know. No.
No.
I did it a few times with a bus and a car.
Yeah, my car.
So if I was to offer you a seat on a train with a view next to the window and a seat without view, which one would you choose?
Okay, no brainer. This is with a view, beautiful view.
Yes. Unless you want to sleep, blah blah blah. But let's say
right.
Okay, right. So 9 out of 10 people, they will answer the same. They want to sit with a view. on this, so we like that sensory stimulation. Some other people like to listen to music if they are bored, or we like to taste new food, new taste, new food, and so on. So in other words, we need our brains to be stimulated. When it comes to work, we need to see value in our work. So are your people stimulated at work, or are they bored? And last but not least, are they challenged? Are you challenging your people? And this is what I'm talking about: balance of your people feeling secure, but at the same time you need to challenge them. And we all seek some degree of challenge, some more, some less, but without it we stagnate, right? But something that if you're a manager, okay, I'm going to challenge my people, I'm going to push my people, but please think of the following. In the workplace, when you're setting targets, for example, the degree of challenge may be impacted by our perceived payoff, by our perceived benefit. For example, if you give someone a target, make sure the benefit, make sure the commission, make sure the payoff, make sure of whatever you're going to give them, it's of value. Because in the workplace, the degree of challenge, it is impacted by our, and this is the key word here, perception, by our perceived payoff benefit. So don't ask me to increase sales by 25% and you're gonna give me $100 extra. I'm not interested. You get that?
Okay.
So how do you attach benefits with the tasks? How do you attach benefits with the target that you set? You need to know your people, because not everybody is there to make money. Maybe you can say to somebody, if they are renovating their house and they have a lot of expenses, or they want some time off, say, okay, this month, if you do X, you will be able to take last Friday off because I know you're renovating your house. For example, if you know somebody's newly married, you can say, okay, I know you're newly married and you're doing a good job. Let's set a realistic target so at the end of the month, if you reach a minimum 80% of the target, you can have an extra 2 days off, so you can have another long weekend. Humans, we are at our most fulfilled when we are learning and growing and being challenged and successfully meeting the challenge, because if we meet that challenge, it gives us intense satisfaction. So if you are listening to this, I don't want to come across as know-it-all. I'm talking from all the mistakes I've done, and I've done tons of mistakes. I've lost the whole teams, my sales are down. So what I'm sharing now is actually from my failures, not from my successes. So as a leader, which of those drivers can you influence the most?
Those were a lot, or full. Okay, we can relate with your mistakes, also with your failures. What have you learned? What's that failure that taught you a very important lesson?
Yeah, one of the companies I've actually started 4 years ago, I had to close it down after a year. I started it in 2017, and around after a year and a half, I had to close it. And the lesson I learned from this is pick your business partners wisely. Don't make emotional decisions. So the reason why I had to close that company down, because I was really motivated to open that company, and I chose a business partner. That business partner, great guy, but just a mismatch, because he comes from an accounting background. He's an Excel guy. He doesn't know how to drive business, and then all he looks at is at Excel and numbers and all that. Well, if you're having a startup, you cannot look at sales every day, because you're gonna struggle. If you're a new company, you need to accept that your first couple of years you're not gonna be profitable. You might not even be profitable at all. So it was a mismatch, because I had a vision, he had no vision. He was looking at Excel's numbers as an accountant. So no blame. It's just a mismatch. He's a great guy. We are friends, but we cannot do business together. So the lesson I learned is, don't make emotional decisions to pick your business partners. Just the same thing if you are recruiting and you have a position to fill. Don't just make an emotional and fast decision because you want to fill that role. Take your time to make logical decisions. Take a step back, take a breath, and don't rush. As I say in business, fire fast, hire slow.
Yes, well, I've heard that a lot of times. Fire fast, hire slow, because a bad hire is a disaster.
It's a disaster. It can lead to a toxic culture. It's like a rotten apple, and it's wasting your time and it's wasting the other person's time. And I don't want to talk about firing people. I know A lot of companies has issues right now, people looking for work and so on. But you know, it's all about long term, and it's all about people working with you and for you, and you both shall be happy, you and them.
You said virtual lunch, right?
Yeah.
You have done that, and what's the impact on the employees? Can you just share?
So what I do once per month in my employees, in my people, we have virtual lunch. So I have employees in Malaysia, Indonesia, Greece, Cyprus. So what I do once every month, we gather on Zoom. We are around 25, 30 people. It's around 20-minute call, and it is a non-work related call. Maybe we'll have virtual lunch, if time permits, or I'll have lunch if I'm in Europe. They'll have dinner or something, and have some fun, and talk about what are you gonna do over the weekend. And sometimes I just crack a joke, and sometimes yeah, it's just to get people together connected, and we don't talk about work. It's just like having a company lunch all together, but we do it virtually, and everybody, when they're connected on Zoom, they can have a cup of coffee or some food to eat, and it takes a lot of pressure of people just like having a face-to-face team lunch or company lunch together. And sometimes if I'm connected with some of my employees are actually I'm friends with them on Facebook or on Instagram, and if I see something, and I may say, hey, John, I saw that you have your daughter's birthday last week, and you put some lovely pictures. I wish a happy birthday. How was that? And everybody claps. So I'll just pick up different things that I see, and sometimes I just let create a bit of atmosphere, momentum, people laugh, maybe some other time, and maybe I see somebody, maybe one of my employees, maybe who's a sports fanatic, I don't know, maybe they like cycling, and maybe I will talk about sports, and maybe say, oh, you like cycling, we also actually have John in Indonesia office who also likes sports, blah, and then maybe the 20 minutes on that call on that specific day we'll talk about sports. So you get it. It's a casual online Zoom meeting. We call it people can bring their coffee, they'll have lunch or dinner, and it shows everybody that at the end of the day we are humans, right? Sometimes I put my assistant, what she does, I order food for everybody and gets delivered to different countries. Like,
Ooh.
so yeah, I do it at the same time. We try to do it same time. So I might order all McDonald's. So I go to McDonald's, for example, Malaysia, the website, and I will order. Then I go to McDonald's Indonesia and I order one. You know what I mean? So sometimes I do it. It's a bit challenging because obviously sometimes the food doesn't get delivered obviously at the same time, but you can do that, yes. Because there is no magic formula to motivating a team. There is no one solution. What you do as a leader, as a business owner, is you have to look at where you can impact. You cannot change people. Personal level, business level, your partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids. You cannot change anyone. I cannot change anyone. All I can do is impact. So when it comes to work, by having a relationship with my team as individuals, not as a group, as individuals, I will start to learn how to engage them, how to provide stimulation, motivation, and development so they can get what they want, which leads me to get what I want.
Perfect. Okay. Wow. Time flies very, very fast, but we are full. I mean, there's really a lot to get from this show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. First of all, it's been a pleasure, and I hope that your audience will get value, and this is why we do this. We do it just to add value and to support leaders, support managers, support business owners. And my last saying for the show is, for the team, you motivate your team, you motivate your people by creating the right environment. And the right environment is where they feel connected and where you have paid into the bank of goodwill, if I can say like that, by valuing them and provide them what they cannot provide for themselves. Because if they can provide to themselves, why do they need you? And great leaders provide their people what they cannot provide for themselves. And if you look at the great leaders in history, sometimes what they provide people is vision. If you look at Alexander the Great, all the great visionaries, politicians, or if you look at sports people, you provide your people vision. Sometimes you provide people training. You provide people with the right tools, with the right support to do the jobs. If you want to be a successful leader, you should provide your people what they cannot provide for themselves.
To all those listening right now who wants to get, more clarity, communication tips, how to engage with their team, how to handle a hybrid workforce, or about micromanagement and everything, how can they reach you?
Yeah, great question. They can reach me on LinkedIn. This is how we first connected, right? Exactly.
Yep.
I'm quite active there. I think you are as well. I like LinkedIn. So Evan Tzivanakis is Tzivanakis, or through my website, executivecoachasia.com. Executivecoachasia.com. I started my coaching business in Asia. This is why the website, but of course I have clients globally, but this is where I initially started. So if you wonder why I have this website, it's because I actually started my coaching business in Asia, executivecoachasia.com. If you go to my website, there is a link there. You can book a discovery call with me, a free Zoom discovery call where we can get to know each other and see if we're a good fit to work together.
Yep, and we'll also link that to the show notes. Okay,
right.
Once again, thank you very much, Ivan, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on your show.
This podcast is powered by IamOps.io. Optimize your cloud infrastructure and CI/CD process with IamOps.io dedicated DevOps team. Check out www.iamops.io and get a DevOps team now. Make sure to check out www.iamops.io if you want to know more about us. Subscribe to our podcast so you can get notified every time we post a new video. Thank you, and you have a great day.